Hello there, fellow travellers. My name is Reback, and I'm joining Chibi and Vertek at the Golden Feather. Come on in, grab a seat, and let's share tales of adventure.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Golden Feather Tavern, where your hosts, Chibi and Vertek, discuss Ashes of Creation and important topics spoken about within the Ashes community. Every week, we invite you, the viewer, and a special guest to pull up a chair, grab a pint, and join the conversation with us. Today is the 7th of June, 2024, and we are on episode 210, Revisiting Combat. And the traveling bard joining us today is Revac. How are you today, friend?
Hello. Thanks for having me back. I'm very well today. Thank you very much. And it's good to see so many people in the chat and both of you as well. It's been far too long.
It has been a while. Indeed. And Chibi, how are you today, and what do we have on tap?
I'm doing pretty well. We are live earlier for those of you that join us for our lives than we typically are. For those of you on YouTube, we're right on time. But on tap, we're going to have some conversation about combat, such as action combat, Mouseovers, different types of engagement, etc. Quality of life items such as saving money on crafting fees, some feedback on the weapon talent system, and other various topics brought to us by the community and those of us in the chat currently. But of course, the most important topic is going to be our bard this week. So, Revac, What have you been up to? It's been a little while since we last had you on, and are you still anticipating Ashes of Creation?
Yes, thank you very much. It has been a long time. To be honest, it's been quite a while since I was properly creating again, but I've not kind of fallen out of scope with what's going on in the community, as well as Ashes that I'm really, really excited for. There's loads of other in development games that I'm always trying to keep an eye on, and I think where Ashes has been in the last 6 months is really exciting, and anybody who's been following the development should be super excited for it. So that's one of the main reasons I've stayed where I am, and I'm still anticipating it, definitely.
That's fair. Have you been keeping up with Ashes? Have you seen the most recent live streams and stuff?
Yes, I have, and Node Wars was pretty mind-blowing. I'm not gonna lie. I think it was amazing to see where it is, even compared to a year ago from their live streams. It's night and day. It's amazing.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like watching Vladis rewatch through all the old 2017 videos, you see a very big difference after Maggie has joined, but also it's not like it's gotten worse, it's just gotten different. You previously saw this very casual, chill environment within the studio, and now it's a really nice and well polished stream. Both are good, but there have definitely been comments of people missing that really chill vibe. Out of the things that you've been keeping up with, is there anything that you are very excited to test for Alpha 2, and do you have access to Alpha 2?
No, unfortunately I don't have access to Alpha 2. As I was sort of explaining beforehand, I'm going to be a father in August. So when we found out about that, the kind of priorities slipped, and it was December. It was the last chance to get involved. And I thought, I'm most likely going to have to put that money somewhere else. So no, I'm not going to be directly involved, but I'm going to be soaking up every piece of content I possibly can.
Right.
I think the most thing I'm excited for is to see how the game's going to start and how people are going to kind of roam into the world of Era and actually what they're going to do to start with. Thank you very much, Oracle. But that's why I think I'm most excited. It's not necessarily a particular game system. It's not a particular combat style. It's how people are going to step into the world and then make their own story. And I just feel like Ashes is the only MMO that's going to give people that ability to create a brand new story. You can go to one content creator to the other and it'll be completely different, and that's what excites me the most.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, it's gonna be a whole lot of stuff to cover between all the different servers and all the different areas of servers, the different levels of politicking, and it's
Yes.
just, oh man, it's gonna be bananas.
Weird. And seeing how some other games have done it in the past, Ash is a whole different ball game. I just can't wait. I really cannot wait to see the kind of narrative storytelling.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what do you think is going to be? What would you predict to be the most popular type of content to make? And do you think you're going to be a part of that because you think it's going to be amazing and fantastic, or do you think you're just going to kind of like blaze your own trail regardless of what's the popular thing because it's so hype and people are super into it?
Great question. That's gonna give me a couple of seconds to think on that one. I don't know. I think I'm really looking forward to seeing like content around combat. He says, being probably one of the worst combat gamers in any game that I ever play. But I'm a big fan of the politics side of it, but also the tactical combat side of it. So if I'm going to be watching content, I'm going to want to watch mayors or like lieutenants and stuff leading forces into battle and strategies and all those kind of like, thought processes that are going into combat and these node wars. I just think all of that together is probably what I'm going to be watching the most. Now, me personally, I'm not skilled enough to do that. So I'm probably going to be that one person who's like, this is how you make some passive gold.
Yeah.
What about
gold.
yourselves?
Ooh, oh man. Oh, turning the tables.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about a response. No. I think probably one of the more popular bits of content is really going to be people who are going to be covering after the fact node sieges. Like, there's going to be so much content thrown out every single time there's a siege, and everyone's going to jump on it. I mean, it's obviously not going to be the most frequent, but it's going to be the most talked about for sure.
Yeah.
But the problem being is it's going to be a lot. I think a lot of content creators are going to do it after the fact. That they're going to be going into a siege and they might be like, all right, guys, I'm going to be on a 30-minute delay here, so sorry. And then they'll come back after it's all said and done, and then they'll edit the video for YouTube. But I think honestly, a lot of ours is going to probably center around community stuff, just kind of like how we are right now. So we might cover the fact that there was a siege, and then we'll direct people to, some of the better videos that we saw covering it and the different perspectives and such like that.
I also want there to be a segment where we talk about things that are happening, at least on our server. Oh my Lord. And just, things like what people are planning in terms of events, like server events type stuff, community events, if people are trying to get people to do things across the server, just stuff like that. I think there were people that were organizing their own like PvP during Alpha 1, PvP matches and stuff like that, like going on little raids and stuff like that together. So I don't know. But definitely trying to be very community centric, what's happening within the community, who's like newer within the community, what the community is talking about or how the community feels about things, that kind of stuff. Very excited to see how that changes our content, because right now it's all speculation posts and response posts on Ash's forums and Reddit. So
yeah, to be honest, that content for you both is definitely sort of like a great direction, because Ashes is very community based. Like, we're getting into some of that as well later on. So I won't go into it too much, but yeah, I think it's going to be really well placed because, as I said earlier, it's going to be different for everybody. That includes servers. One server story is going to be completely different to another. So you bringing that together, I can't wait.
Yeah,
Exciting times ahead for sure. And I think just playing the part of a tavern, the social center of things going on, I think that's probably going to be a big point that we're going to play up to, is trying to present like the news of the day type of thing. Like, hey, so we've heard these rumors about this stuff going on and that type of thing happening, and etc.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, I agree. Such a large community has no live game. I don't know too many games that have done this, right? I agree. Do you have any other questions?
Oh, plenty. So, where can everybody find you? Did you already push out the guest stuff here?
I can do that now.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So you think you're going to be more of live streaming stuff as you do content, or you're going to be doing more prepared videos? Do you think you're going to lean harder in one direction or another?
Yeah, I think videos is a better format for me. I like to have my live streams as just something that's sporadic, and something where people can just kind of drop in, see how I'm doing, and I see how they're doing. Whereas I feel like video content is a lot more structured, a lot more focused, and I prefer that for pushing regular content. He says after not doing content for a while, but yeah, when I'm back into it properly, that's definitely the direction I want to take.
It's all right. Everyone needs a little bit of refocus time, get some stuff handled, take care of other things, circle back around.
Absolutely.
All right. So, do you have a favorite archetype or class in mind?
I actually made a post on Reddit. The tank, I think, is going to be a favorite of mine. I just don't like the naming of the archetype personally, but yeah, it's probably going to be tank, or it may be a cleric. For me, I love a good healer or a tank. I'm just a support character. Just okay. Secondary. I'm never a main character. I'm just a background character.
Okay.
But hey. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how the cleric generally, comes into the game. I feel like they can be quite diverse, and they're going to be obviously the best healer class. So class archetype. That was a horrible word to say. But yes, I'm those two. I'm really excited for, and the fact that we can blend them together might be where I sit. It might be completely useless to a party, but here we go.
Yeah, well, hey, that's right. Hey, every movie needs a good supporting cast. So just like every party needs a good supporting class. See, it kind of even fits together. Cast, class, But no. Support stuff is very, very important, especially with Bard. And I guess since we don't know a whole lot about it, we could say maybe Summoner, because they're going to be flexing around every which way, kind of filling in whatever pothole needs to be filled for the group to drive correctly. And oh man, I'm in danger.
You are. People are really liking Vertex shirt right now.
I can see it. To be fair,
oh my goodness,
it does look amazing.
Gonna have to make sure to not wear this to any conventions.
Right. Definitely
see you on the news.
PAX West when we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man mauled at gaming convention.
Right. Jeez.
Yeah. So like you said, I think we're gonna be heading to PAX West, by the way, folks. So if anyone else is planning, we see you.
Or wants to plan.
Or wants to plan. Yeah. All right, well, Revak, before we move into the main topics of the day, well, the side topics of the day, you're the main topic, but the side topics of the day, do you have anything else you'd like to plug? Anything else you'd like to say during your spotlight?
No, I don't think so. Again, just thanks for having me on, and thanks to anybody who's taken a look at those links. Really appreciate just once again the opportunity to be on the podcast. I love it. It's great fun. So that's it. That's all I've got.
All right. Great. Well, we definitely appreciate you coming over here.
Yeah. As our guest, we have our 3 themes. We have combat discussion theme. We have the quality of life discussion theme. We have the random topics. Which one would you like to start with first?
I mean, let's go with combat. That's why we're all here, right?
Fair
enough.
Fair. So I'm going to just jump right in with that first one. This is from Mr. Cryptic. And I don't care what anybody says. No, I was not influenced. It was actually a decent question, and I decided to include it. And the question is, where is the action combat? As an avid follower of the development progress, Ashes for Ashes of Creation, Mr. Cryptic cannot help but express his concerns regarding the direction of its combat system. While the game showcases remarkable progress in various aspects, particularly its stunning visuals and immersive world building, the emphasis on tab target combat in recent updates, notably the Node Wars update, raises question about the game's combat experience. And I just want to take a pause real quick and say there was hybrid combat. Vertec actually did hybrid combat during that test. I stuck with tab targeting because that's what I preferred. But I think the people that are recording do not use hybrid as much, so you don't see it as much during these streams. But Cryptic goes on to say, while I remain optimistic about the game's future, I believe it's essential to voice our concerns and aspirations as a community. Let's engage in constructive dialogue and collectively strive for a gaming experience that truly resonates. He was wondering if combat mechanics will shine as brightly as the rest of the game. And if the development team is fully aware of the community's expectation regarding combat, and if they've considered implementing true hybrid combat system that seamlessly integrates both tab and action elements. So, first off, what are your thoughts on hybrid versus tab versus seamless back and forth of the two?
I am all for it. I think it caters to a lot larger from a player base perspective. Now I'm a MMO tab combatter. I prefer it, especially because, like I said, I'm usually a healer or a tank. So for me, it's a lot easier. But I can see why a lot of people, from a DPS point of view, want action combat, because it is more engaging, right? From that perspective, and the fact that the team have decided to go for a hybrid approach, or an optioned approach, is the right approach to take, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I am much preferred to action combat. I mean, that's basically all I used in the Node Wars testing was the action cam. It felt better to me for everything, but that's also from a melee point of view. I could see from a range point of view that might be a little bit difficult. Especially if arrows have flight time and whatnot, and I'm gonna say a lot of ifs because I'm tank, so I didn't really play any of the other archetypes at all, and I have purely to go on what they're saying about everything. So anything I say about the other archetypes is going to be purely based on what I heard, and I didn't necessarily hear if there was flight time to arrows because I didn't know of any rangers that were using anything besides tab. It felt really good to me, and I'm all about the action combat. Just like Mr. Cryptic here says, it feels like it elevates the combat experience in an MMO to have to actually move your camera to aim stuff and have good environmental awareness on what's going on around you, instead of just kind of like turning your cam, hit tab, click on the person, and then you just kind of forget to follow them at all. You just kind of keep clicking your skills. And it feels so much better for me. And so I liked how they did it so far. Could there be improvements? I'm sure there could. But for what they're trying to aim for, it feels good.
Yeah, for me, I did not really test too much into the the action hybrid combat system. I kind of look forward to that when we get into Alpha 2, testing that a bit more, maybe in a space that's not quite so highly directed, such as the node test were. But then I can play around with it a little bit and see how I feel and truly feel it out. As a healer, I know it's viable. We had Brigund on last week who talked about using primarily hybrid as a cleric, whereas as a cleric, I was using tab and I kind of stuck towards the back because I had a wider range of view of what's going on. So it's one of those, like, there's pros and cons to everything kind of things. And I'm very interested in seeing everything. That being said, thank you, Pockets. Right on cue. Pockets Art had mentioned for anybody interested, there's the link, and had said that Ash's YouTube put out a video of Plan Endorse today and saw more of the action cleric abilities watching that, and there is the link there. And I'm going to actually grab that so that I can put that in the description later for those of you watching on YouTube. But I think that he seemed like he was able to go back and forth pretty well. I know that there's some conversation from the community on whether or not some skills should be tab only and some of the skills should be hybrid only or action only to kind of incentivize using those things. But that kind of brings me over to Mouseovers. And this is a lot of this stuff is off of the forums, you guys. Sorry about that, Reddit. But this is from Louis asking for being able to heal over the health bar and able to click whatever spells and uses that on the target you're hovering over. I actually use that a lot. But I don't know, have you guys used Mouseover abilities? And if you have, do you want to see it in Ashes? Or do you think maybe not?
I don't mind as long as it's not the only option. So obviously, and we know it's not, they're going with a hybrid approach for targeting, just full stop. I have absolutely no concerns with it. There's been some games where I think sometimes it's warranted. Again, playing a healer, if you're trying to single target multiple people, it's a lot easier to move your mouse over the person you can see. But it kind of limits, in a lot of ways, your ability, because you're not just fighting then against whoever's trying to attack you. You're fighting against the fact that all of your team are running all over the place and it's just a scattered mess. But there are a lot of benefits to having that, especially if you're going more of that kind of action combat way, because your mouse should be as close to wherever you're targeting as possible. So as long as there's options for it and options to turn it off, I, again, don't see any problems with it. I think it's a really viable way to play. But yeah, I'm like I said, tab, press a name, spam heal sort of player.
Fair.
Yeah, Mouseovers are amazing tools, especially in a tab / point and click type game. Either of those, it adds again that elevated feel to it. Like,
yeah,
if you're trying to be quick and responsive and actually get things done, quote unquote, like in time, like as fast as possible, having to search through, find someone, click them, then hit a heal button, and then find someone else and click them, and changing your targets up, it feels like it's a lot more clunky than just having a mouse over where you can hover over and it temporarily selects them. You can click to select someone and have them be your hard target, but then you move your mouse away from everything, just have it out in the field, and it's going to go back to that person. Then you hover over somebody else and then you can cast something on them. Because it allows you to do that over raid frames, but also, and I think more importantly, on people out there in the field. You can kind of see it, health bars that are popping down, and like there's a giant fire explosion over on this side. You can immediately whip your mouse over to where the lightning strike hit from the mage, right? And start hovering over people that need healed, and you can heal them real quick. Or for that matter, from a tank point of view, if I see somebody in my field of view and I'm using tab target for my camera type, if someone's running away from an enemy force and they're really low on health, I can hover over them with a mouse button. I can hit my intercept, give them a shield real quick, and then I can start guarding them from behind. Like, it's a lot easier than let me click on them. Okay, now let me click on a bad guy so then I can actually do something against them.
Yeah. And Actually, like something I wanted to bring up that I don't know if I talked much about this with any of the interviews I went on or on our own show, but you can see Steven's raid frame on screen as he's walking up to this bulletin board. But I was actually able to click names up in the corner on the raid frame and heal from there because I have the fancy MMO mouse with all the buttons on the side. So I organized my macros. Yeah, I organized my macros in a way that made it so that I can just click and I know which buttons are doing what. And sometimes that helped me because I was able to do the ability where like the heal is kind of like this flare that flies towards its target, and that's how I can like reorient to like where maybe a fight might be happening. If I turn and see Vertec and a couple of other people and their health is getting low, I'm like, okay, cool. Like now I'm reorienting on like where people are. But otherwise, I really like being able to do it. I think Mouseover, like you said, is a way to elevate it. And with the conversation on, action, this is a good way to kind of integrate an action-esque like mouse over heal without needing to leave tab in case I need access to something else. And I feel like it's kind of a best of both worlds, especially as a healer for me. Like it's just, I loved it in WoW. I loved being able to have the mouse over. And I don't know, I might make this a forum post later or like add into theirs, like the desire for that. But let's see, real quick before I go on to one of these two, Sir Onsington asked, was there active block available? If so, how did it perform? And were there any restrictions to the function?
Well, so that one I have only a little bit of input on, mainly because, as Chibi said, it was fairly directed testing. And by what I mean, or what we mean by that is it's not necessarily, okay, everybody stand here and do this, but it was very much like, okay, everybody get your stuff. Okay, we're running. Let's go. Let's get over there. Okay, everybody, let's do this. Start doing stuff. So there wasn't really much of a chance to really examine how well it worked or if there were any restrictions or whatnot. I can say, at least from thinking on it, that active blocking was there. Using the action cam, I would left click to do my attacks and I would right click to do my blocking. And when blocking, yes, I did see things being blocked. And I only really got attacked for the most part from the front, so I didn't really get a chance to examine anything like, can I block from behind or from the sides or anything? Because we just didn't get a chance to say, okay, now attack me from the side. Okay, let me turn around or anything like that. And typically when I was getting attacked, it was by multiple people from multiple directions anyway. So it was really hard to keep track of any kind of performance marking on it. I just knew it was working, so I did it.
It's been really tough though.
Yeah.
Generally it's a good idea to not engage the enemy from the side, like from your side, running in that direction. So it's interesting to know that there's action combat though. I think it worked really well, and like Elder Scrolls Online is a good example. Active blocking. So it's really cool to see that they're blending that kind of aspect of it, and like WoW, where it's like item based and stat based, and whether you block something, it's not you actively doing. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And
no,
then there's me who
Onsington, it wasn't
do
draining.
that at all.
Doesn't do it at all. And no, Onsington,
Like,
it wasn't draining stamina that I noticed anyway.
But that's always subject to change. Steven's words.
Maybe you're perfect blocking. Maybe it's got a perfect block system and you're just too good at blocking.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be.
So good at it.
I perfected it.
Yeah.
This next one is talking about ranges of engagement, and what that means is like the distance of engagement. And to kind of summarize this, the who is this again? Grilled cheese mojito. Interesting. I don't know if I would try one of those, but I do love me a
delicious.
good mojito. Is talking about the frustration with the sieges, and how the fundamental issue with sieges is in the combat mechanics, kind of like the engagement ranges. They feel like they're too far, and they think that, without addressing that issue, the additions to the game, such as like PvE systems or environmental design, won't really improve the experience. But overall, what are your thoughts on that? Because I actually see a couple of people responding here about being a skill issue, or actually how compared to Alpha 1, the current range is kind of on the shorter side. But yeah, thoughts?
Skill issue, number one comment when you've got nothing to say. That might be controversial. I think obviously you don't want your range of engagement to be too big that you can't physically see an individual who's engaging you. But I think a really good example of it was the caravan that I know that you participated in and that we all watched on the stream. But it gives the ability to kind of have that ambush aspect. Instead of everybody dropping down and then getting into your face, you're being engaged from that kind of that length. And
yeah,
for me, I feel like a game like this that's really focused in that element of, caravan system and PvP element kind of out in the world and the whole war system, it needs to have a longer engagement of just in general. I think games like WoW, very different because it's got quite a close range of engagement, but I feel like Ashes needs it because of how beautiful the world is, and you're going to be able to hide behind things and just all ambushing. I just feel like it needs it personally.
Yeah. So engagement range. What I'm reading into this is they're saying that, and correct me if I just absorb things incorrectly, but people can shoot other people from too far away. Is that about what they're saying?
I kind of feel that. Yeah. It kind of seemed like he was suggesting that a shorter engagement for range was necessary.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't misreading this because I read through it, but I think one thing to take and add into this is, and exactly like Silver was just saying there, the range of fighter dashes and stuff like that. The one thing that I didn't show off much you didn't see any in my gameplay, and probably any of the other tanks didn't take it as well, is there are some serious gap closers with a tank.
Yeah.
Let me let that absorb in. There's a serious gap closer ability for a tank. There is a dash that is crazy fast, like almost as fast as some of the mounts that you saw in the video. And it went on for like 10 to 12 seconds or something like that. It felt like it went forever. If a ranger decided to skedoodle away and use all their movement abilities, I could have been just at the edge of their reach and probably could catch up to them if I used that ability. And then also used, the shield bash, which is another quick like jump dash. It's pretty strong. And we saw, I didn't play the fighter, so I don't know what their options were, but we saw in the highlight video that they have a couple good gap closers, right? Some that even go vertically. As long as you apparently jumped in the air before you used it, it would launch you vertically. So there are some gap closers. The only problem is, do you want to make that a priority is the question. I did not. I just didn't, because I wanted to be able to protect people more than I wanted to chase someone else down.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I guess that's a really good question as well, is, what are you going to prioritize, that gap close or protecting and doing what a tank's supposed to do? I guess I never thought of it even from that point of view. But another question would be, should a ranger be able to engage another ranger? Is that the kind of like level of engagement range that's too far? I believe it would be, but or am I just opening this up even further?
No, I think and see, I don't know any of the ranger options, like if you can spec into farther range or anything like that. And like Silver just mentioned, so if big ranges are a problem, Intrepid adds a ton of gap closers, but then why make range a problem? Well, that's where the actual strategy comes in. If you're planning to go on a siege, or you're planning to go on a node war, you're planning to go into PvP, then at that point you need to be strategic about your skill choices. Hey, do any tanks here have dash equipped? Do any fighters have the extra long jump spec'd? No? Okay, I'm going to take it. I'll be a chaser, or I'll be a diver, or something like that. It'll add more strategy and more teamwork into it. That way they can make the choice to close that distance, or they can say, nah, it won't be an issue. We'll just have the other rangers and mages take care of rangers. It's fine. And they just move on. And that's their strategy. That's the approach they want to take. Like, who cares if they can shoot at me from like forever away, because I have skills that are going to keep me and everybody around me alive, so that every skill they shoot out is going to be basically useless. I'm going to keep protecting everybody, and the healer's going to have no problem taking care of my little bit of health that gets chunked while we march our entire mass of raid towards them and just eat them alive.
Yeah.
In my mind, anyway, that's how I see it being. It's more of a chess game.
Yeah, it's the rock paper scissors approach that they want to take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And I honestly, I think that there should be, like, as far as a ranger can shoot, a tank being able to close in that gap to allow the ranger to stay towards the back, kind of like how we see Keenj during the stream, where he's up higher at a distance, and you kind of have to go at a weird angle to get him out, because he's at a weird angle to get people. And it's all about, like, coming down to how you play and, like, those tactical angles and that tactical way of playing in a PvP fight, especially when you do stuff like Node Wars. Oracle wants to know, can you switch out skills during mid-combat? I did not even try, so I don't know.
Yeah, that so here's the thing with that, Oracle. The Node Wars testing was set up in many ways specifically for testing. And Steven said before, you should need to go back to town to be able to change your skills and such like that, or at least to change the secondary, and definitely no changing stuff in combat. I'm pretty sure that's been stated out. But we had free reign. We didn't even need to go anywhere to respec or nothing like that. But that's mainly because we were supposed to be testing stuff.
Yeah. Like, whatever we say, just because we say that we had our experience with this, does not mean that that's the way it's going to be in Alpha 2. I'm going to put an additional preface on behalf of Steven.
Put an additional statement out there. Anything is subject to change, and who knows how much of this was actually just set up this way for testing.
Yeah. I can see the complaint people have about teleport now. It puts a huge blob of distortion on the screen. Yeah, possibly. I didn't really notice it myself, but I don't know. But I mean, having a distortion kind of is also allowing me to keep track of where you're going. So you can really see it when they're running down the path. Oh, okay. Going on to quality of life stuff. This is from Moonman of C. I think that's supposed to be Moonman of Creation, but he says, I love that Ashes of Creation will have a weapon talent system. I think that it creates a massive opportunity for players to really distinguish their own unique playstyle and drive so many different build paths. The synergies that will exist between the weapons and your abilities, as well as weapons and other players' abilities, is a great idea. And I'll let a lot of the rest of that be read on your behalf at your leisure. But the good is that they have done a good job navigating the tough balance that exists by making all weapons usable by all archetypes. And the not so good is they personally think that many of the weapon talents lack depth. And I'm going to have something to add to this later. But I just going to add, he thinks that a lot of the upgrades you get when you progress a specific modifier, example given Elemental Attunement 1 to Elemental Attunement 2, feels lackluster because it keeps adding the same flat percentage bonus as you upgrade. What are your thoughts?
I'm with them, and the fact that, like, weapon talent trees are an amazing addition because it really does open up build potential. I mean, who doesn't want to see a tank full clad in armor running with a staff and just a staff? Like, that's going to be really fun to watch, and probably good stories and good content to see. I don't know if it would really cause an issue for me from a depth point of view. I struggle when he mentions, of course, that the flat percentages of increases, I don't want there to be super convoluted and super complicated like improvements to these weapon types depending on your archetype, because that's what your archetype's for, and how you're building that up. So for me, I personally wouldn't want that extra complication on top, because you're going to go down the route of min-maxing to the point where people will not take you on certain like quests or dungeons or into wars because you've got the wrong weapon, because this weapon has this very specific upgrade to it and this very unique thing that you have to have if you're being a tanker, a bard, or anything like that. I just, whatever allows people to just do whatever they want. And I feel like that's what they're trying to do with the weapon archetypes, right? It's not too impactful, but it's still impactful enough for you as an individual.
Right.
So here's the thing. It's kind of a paradox, if you will. You can give people all the options in the world to change everything about everything, and there's so many things you can do, and there's so many different ways you can adjust and do this and that. But by the time you introduce too many options, there's much more likely to be an actual meta. Like, this is the best, because there's no way to balance 700 different options, but you can balance 3.
Right.
So if you can't balance that many and there is a best, then suddenly there aren't any options, because you have the best. And the only option is if you just want to goof off and you're not actually being serious about, performance at all. So I think that with the weapon system, just having some things be, hey, you've used this enough, you can now do more damage with it. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. I've trained it farther. You've done this enough that now you're going to crit more often. Awesome. Cool. Hey, now you have a choice between 2 things. Cool. I'll pick this one. And then the next one is, again, just a straight damage boost because you're now better with it. All right. Fair enough. I like it.
I actually really like that. So the thing that I was going to say, and then I'm going to circle back to what you just said, because I that gave me more ideas. I was listening to Vladis talk about the weapon skill tree, and he was saying that there's a lot of skill trees, but because there's the actual skill tree, and then you have got the weapon skill tree, and all the weapon skill tree is like weapon 1, weapon 2, weapon 3, weapon 4, like in a straight line, and it's just not all that interesting, at least for like some of them, like a mace, for example. He's like, instead, I think it should be something that you would have on the skill tree, but you can click into multiple times. But I actually like this idea more of, as you play with a weapon, you level up that weapon. And as you level up that weapon, you get more proficient with that weapon, which gives you the better damage, which gives you the better crit chance. I actually like that a lot more. It feels a little bit more immersive in terms of melee stuff, because then you're able to be like, yes, I do want to spec into this weapon because this weapon in the long run will help me do more damage. I'm very curious to see how that plays out. If Intrepid is hearing like his take, our take, I'm curious to see what their plans are with that, because it does feel a little bit at the moment mentally like a lot of different places to put skill points into, which is great, but like at the same point, it can get also a little overwhelming, I think.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a great system. I mean, it works really well, and I'm going back to Elder Scrolls Online again. It works really well there. The more you use it, the more passive boost you can have with that weapon, the more like weapon specific abilities. And I think it's the same with, like, I'm going well off the spectrum of like MMOs here, but Dragon's Dogma does a fantastic job of like that archetypal sort of approach with, you use this more, you get better with it, you have more abilities and better passives for when you're using that weapon. So I completely agree. That approach is what I would love to have in a weapon like tree system.
Yeah, I would agree. Also, another thing Vladis put out there, food for thought, is instead of like the tree that we have, kind of like a web of things. Yeah,
the web thing. I I don't know. I think it feels like it could be a good thing, but some games that go with the web direction go a little bit excessive.
Yeah.
Like you look at it
fair.
and it's just a daunting web of what the do I even do with this? Where do I even go?
Yeah. I get like that. I think Diablo was my perfect example of like, oh no, I don't know what to do. Whereas ADHD brain likes natural progression for me. So agreed.
The next thing I want to bring up, and this is only because, again, this is from a community's perspective. Vertec and I have obviously our own perspectives. And that is kill notifications. And Prince Maslama, which I want to say in my head, my llama for some reason, says, watching recent combat footage from the Node Wars showcase, I noticed there does not appear to be any form of notification confirming players' kills in real time. And he suggests a few ways that could be done. And I wanted to add in that this is actually in game. We were able to see it during the node testing, at least. And all right, Hulk, have a good one. And it's one of those, it was in the chat system, which you can see on screen is blocked. You can tell that there's like a slightly different color box on top of chat. So you don't see it, but we did. But what do you think on kill notifications? Do you like there being kill notifications? Do you like it if you can turn it off?
I would prefer to have it turned off, but I'm a bit of a strange player when it comes to MMOs. I don't like to have too much going on the screen. Like, I don't like, people are going to hate this. I don't like damage numbers. I don't like effects. I don't like all of that going through. I want to see that on the toolbar at the top, and I know who I've targeted, you know, the health bar going down. But yeah, I just don't like to have my screen just muddied constantly with numbers, because I'm not paying that much attention, because I'm not a min-maxer, and I know that people love that. But I wouldn't want that. I would want that because I would love to see how many people I'm killing and just get that dopamine fix just constantly, you know, intravenously. But no, I just feel like it takes away from the immersion for me to see all of that on screen, including kill notifications. Personally.
But what do you think about it being in your chat, not like an on-screen thing, the way that it was during the testing?
Good question. Yeah. No, again, I don't think so, because I would personally be staring at the chat the whole time to see if I've got a kill.
Fair. Okay. Vertec?
Yeah, and real quick, Drew. Yeah, there were quite a lot of settings on what you could or you would want shown or didn't want shown, and like, yeah, they were already even in this this Node Wars test. There were a lot of options for what you wanted shown.
Yep.
Like a ton, to the point where I started going through, going, man, I don't even know if I want to set all this stuff. I'll just leave it as is. It's fine. But yeah. When it comes to this specific type of thing where it's like so-and-so slain whatever, or you killed so-and-so popping up on the screen, it's super important when it comes to games that are like a MOBA, and you need to see like there's 5 people, right? And there's an entire game that's like 5v5 or 6v6 or 4v4 even. It's super important for strategy. Like so-and-so slayed them. Okay, cool. That lane's clear. I don't even need to look at that for the next like 2 minutes. Next, where can I focus next? Everybody can converge on mid or bottom or whatever. Even in like maybe an arena type setup where somebody goes chasing someone down around a corner. Aberrat, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to add another spin to the spin wheel over here. By the way, we're at 6 spins that we owe them when we get back.
Okay, yeah.
Almost to 7, but yeah, crazy.
All right. I like it. Thank you, Aberrat. Much appreciated. But yeah, it's super important stuff like that. But in an MMO, that's not exactly the focus, right? Even in a node war where there's, in this case, like 80 people on the battlefield, does one person dying really impact your gameplay that much? You saw them fall over, right? You don't need the entire field to know that one person fell over, because they're dealing with their own drama over on the other side of the map. In my opinion.
Unless you know them. because
in
then
my
you've got
unless you know them exactly. In my opinion, but I do agree with giving player control over their own UI being a thing. Like, put the option in there and let them turn it off. I'm perfectly okay with that. I personally wouldn't put it on, maybe, potentially. But the last bit I want to say is that I'm the exact opposite of Revac here. I need all the information on my screen. I need everything I can possibly get a hold of. I don't look at everything all at once, but if I need that information, I need to know exactly where I can look to see it right now.
Yeah. To catch up on chat real quick, because a bit has been said. Hello, Desrevis. Welcome in. I wouldn't care about eye damage reflected every hit on a short bow. Yeah, I feel that. And then Owensington asked, are there going to be damage boards after wars and group PvP content? There was a board. I don't think it showed up on Steven's screen, but there was a board we saw that told you how much you healed and how much damage, etc., that you were doing during the node war. But I also want to add in, Mr. Big Water says, I like being able to turn off the damage numbers and kill notifications. I'd probably keep kill notifications on though, especially for small battles, so like caravan ambushes and stuff. And honestly, I noticed when I edited my UI for one of the tests, it stayed the way that I edited it for the next test. So I didn't have to worry about it like being completely reset. So that would be cool, because then I would probably like to filter that stuff out of the general chat into its own tab, like maybe a tab of combat, right? Like things that happened. It would be nice to see like a filter tab of like the kill feed, so I can go back through, and that way we can like review something that happened, you know. But then separate from that is like, you know, damage done, healing done, etc. to me. Or like the numbers that I output. And I think that, again, you know, having the full UI being able to be customizable is very important in this. And I think Intrepid understands that. But leaving settings on default, then complain about the forums that I can't see something that is disabled by default.
It's a habit of many people.
Yeah.
Honestly, there is a situation where sometimes there's way too much going on in the settings, and I imagine there's probably gonna be guides on how to turn stuff on. Like, if nothing else, I would like to, once I get my UI in a certain area, I would like to do a small guide on how to set up your UI to be like my UI, since I don't think we can share. But yeah, I agree. Owensington, post-war boards are fun, and actually, I just saw that Loreforged was going live. I would like to raid over to them after this, but I think now's a good time to wrap up and go on to some community stuff, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just a FYI, there is a diff discussion on the War Siege system, so please go and give your thoughts and opinions. I get that if you haven't been in it, it's a little hard to say, but you guys have plenty of observations that might be helpful for them to consider. Obviously, I think observing strictly is very vastly different than physically testing it. After all, there's a lot of things that you guys see and don't understand the full depth of that we were able to test and understand more context of. And that's just something I've seen of with people reacting and commenting in general, being like, oh, the tank wall this, but then not knowing that that was actually one of the options for an augment of the tank wall. So there's only so much that you can base off of visual. The other thing I want to say, and I'm really super impressed by this. If y'all don't know, Kash has been doing pyromancy lately. And no, that does not mean he's setting things on fire, but he is doing some very cool artistic shit with fire burning, including this really awesome wood burning sign for Ashes of Creation that really matches what Vertec is wearing. Funny enough.
Yeah.
And I think Vertec is working to get it on screen for you. But that
I am
here is the link to it. Please, I request of you, if you have Twitter, if you use Twitter, go give this a like. go comment on this. Tell them how amazing that did. I bet that took hours. It looks so good. He's new at it.
Wow.
He's not really used to doing it. And it's really lovely. I love the quality. And then he even put it up against some fur and I think an antler or two.
Little antlers.
And arrows. And I just like it. It's so amazing.
Trophies from the pirate he's slain.
Rude. Did he say that?
No.
We're gonna fight. Okay.
That turned very quickly.
It did.
I was gonna say, geez.
That's actually amazing that what Kash has done. Well,
Yeah.
well done.
I agree.
Yeah, he's doing real good with it. I like this stuff.
Yeah. But I think
Pyromancy.
it's so ridiculous. It's so cool. I love it. Kash is so incredibly talented. Even if he's new at it, I feel like he's found his accidental calling. So a few people commented saying that they want to buy a version.
It really is. It's that same exact logo.
It is, yeah.
I was looking down like, I think it's a little bit different. No, it's exactly the same. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what we have to share today. We didn't get to all of our topics, but that's okay. Some of them were kind of silly anyway. Just throwing it out there. Like Pockets put out a thing talking about saving money on crafting by having because he misheard Steven during the stream. And he heard noticed. Nudist.
I saw that, yeah. I saw a couple of the comments. That was I had a good chuckle when I was supposed to be working.
Yeah.
Reading up some of the forums. Nudist wars.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, we hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, please consider giving us a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us over on Twitch. And if you want to support us, you can subscribe on Twitch too. That's fine. We also have a subscription open on our Discord, which we get more of a percentage from. But yeah, I think today was really good. Revac, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, not at all. Once again, just a big thank you to letting me come on and talk about just Ashes of Creation in general and talk with you both. You're such really important parts of the community for Ashes, and it's such a pleasure to speak with you and in front of everybody as well. And it's just exciting times coming up with Alpha 2, and I'm really looking forward to what everybody's going to create. So yeah, just thank you again for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, of course. My closing thoughts are, I think there's going to be a lot more hype and excitement coming on as we get closer into Alpha 2. I think there's a lot that we cannot wait for you guys to test along with us. And for those of you that don't have access to Alpha 2, Vertec and I are actually, that's one of the things that I guess we could have mentioned previously. We're going to be doing testing things that you guys want to see if you guys can't get into Alpha 2. So leak something. I don't have a flask of holy water, so I can't really leak anything. Sorry.
You see what I have to deal with?
I'm not getting involved in this.
Oi, oi, oi.
But I do have the raid going over to Loreforge next.
But yeah, like Chibi said, if you do not have Alpha 2 access and you want to see something tested, if you see us online, stop on by. And if we're not already engaged in a task, either for somebody else or something that required some prep time and working with others, we will surely try to drop what we can to run over and get that tested for you so you can see it live on demand for the low cost of $29.95 a minute. No, I jest. But seriously though, thank you everybody for hanging out here. Thank you Revac for coming on again and joining us. You haven't gotten sick of being on our show yet, so I'll take that as a compliment. You folks, thank you for all your chat. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for all of your statements in chat. And you, please have yourselves a great day. You do not get your time back, so I hope you feel like you spent it well.
Yep.
We shall see you
Thanks.
next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.